I'm Brittany.
And I'm Heather.
Welcome to Okayest Moms, the podcast.
A place to be more than just mom.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Happy New Year. It's 2023.
We made it.
We made it. We did it.
I don't really know what any of it means anymore. It's so hard, especially after the last couple of years, to be excited about a new year. Like, I'm very trepidatious about going into a new year.
Same.
I'm very hesitant to have any sunny outlook or plans or goals or
I think we're
anything.
doing an episode about goals.
I mean, maybe I'm putting the cart before the horse there. We'll save that chatter for a minute. But we have made it. We've made it through. Well, we haven't. By the time this airs, we will have made it through winter break. But we are still currently very much in the middle of winter break. I counted.
Oh my God.
This winter break was 20 days long. It's hard for me to even say out loud. 20 days.
It like gives me anxiety. Our kids don't go back till January 9th. Like, think about that. They were out before Christmas. That is a long time.
No. January 9th is the last day. They go back January 10th.
No!
It's too much.
Heather, I'm not sure I knew that.
Well, surprise!
Oh, God.
Yeah, because the 2.5 weeks they had prior weren't enough. They need the one extra Monday too. And that is, the teachers are back on Monday, so it is a day for them to ease in, which I'm glad they get. But also take these children.
Yeah, it's hard. Mostly I just feel a lot of guilt because I'm like, you guys are just laying around. They're like, we love relaxing days. I'm like, you've had 20 in a row. Like, that's enough.
I know. We have not done anything, and it's been really nice. AJ's been on vacation, so it's honestly, we've just been catching up on like house projects, and I feel like our house is just like one doom pile after another that's just been ignored for the last, like, honestly 3 months, like the whole like fourth quarter of last year. So we've just been like, the kids it's been pouring buckets and buckets of rain here, so I feel like that's my like safety. But it's just been like watching nonstop TV, playing nonstop video games while AJ and I are just running through the house manically organizing and purging. And
well, at least you're doing that. Like, I'm not even doing that. I feel like I have piles of laundry on my floor that have been there for way too long. I need a reset. Like, I need a hard transition for me to get my life together. Right now, it just feels like we're tumbling through space and time.
Totally. No, this is very unusual because usually I can't do anything with the kids home, and I don't know if anybody else feels like this, but having your spouse home when they're not usually home sends my world into a spiral. And we've been doing better this time than we've historically done, but it feels like an intrusion on my space because, like, yes, the house is everyone's in theory, but also like it's my domain. So stop doing things a different way than I would do them. And that's been very challenging in the past. We're doing better this time, but also like, I'm not going to get that house to myself to do the reset chance again. So, which I'll talk about in a second. But so I feel like now is my time to like prepare and do all the things. So
yeah, totally. One thing I have accomplished this break is a rewatch of Jersey Shore, which I mentioned in what we're watching now, an episode before our break. But Tyler sent me the other day a Reddit Ask Me Anything from one of the producers of the first 3 seasons.
Oh God.
I read through that entire thing. Like, it took me over an hour, and there were so many good tidbits in there. Like, we'll link it in the show notes, but like just stuff like, do you remember the punch when Jenny punched Mike, like in the first season?
Vaguely. I'm not.
They were in Atlantic City, and it was over because she felt sick and he wouldn't leave with her to take her back to the hotel room because he was with another girl. That was really because they were hooking up. They really had like a relationship at that time, but that was edited out because Jenny looked better with Polly.
This is all lost on me because I don't remember who Jenny is.
Oh my god, JWoww.
Oh, when you call her,
I'm sorry,
when you call her Jenny, I don't know who that is.
This is all lost on me. Anyway, there's just like tons of little tidbits in there that blew my
I
mind.
feel like I knew that.
That her and Mike were
Yeah. Yeah, like very early on. I feel
Wow.
like that's yeah. No, I feel like I like at some point that came out in like one of the like interviews or once they hit it big. I feel like after they went to Italy, that's when they were just like really big. And I feel like when they started doing all the press and stuff for that, I feel like it came out during that time.
See, the third season is when you can really tell that they're like editing out the crowds that are around them. Like when Snooki couldn't find the beach and she was wasted drunk, the producer said the hardest part of that was like editing out the crowds that were around her the entire time.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I remember that even watching it originally, just like them being on the boardwalk.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my big accomplishment.
Wow.
I am now a Jersey Shore historian.
Being stuck in the early 2000s. Okay, got it.
It's been a lovely walk down memory lane, I'll tell you.
I don't know if I could. I don't know. I feel like that would be too much secondhand embarrassment for me.
Oh, it's still so funny. I mean, yes, of course there's embarrassment. And there's some terrible things that like guys say that would never go on TV now, but
No, I feel like it would just take me back to that time where I was watching it in real time. And then I would therefore begin to start reliving some of my moments. I don't know if I could do. You know what? I
like
did
a parallel nostalgia.
Yeah, and I don't think I could do that. I did actually. You're reminding me on New Year's Eve day. I did start to rewatch Laguna Beach, which is on Netflix now. I got 2 episodes in, and I just couldn't do it. It's just it's
bad.
Well, that yes, but also it's just it takes me back to that time, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't get in that headspace again, which I honestly am okay with, but it was hard to. I couldn't do it. I thought like, oh, this is gonna be so great. Like I'm gonna notice all these nuggets that I missed the first time, and now I'm older. In the hindsight, it just no, it's bad.
Didn't work that way for you.
It didn't work. Well, like like if you could reverse engineer it, knowing what I know now, not because all the podcasts that came over, what was that over the summer with, Kristen and
Steven.
Steven, thank you. Why couldn't I kept wanting to say Dieter. Like knowing all and like knowing how the last episode of The Hills ended and all these things, I thought there'd be like some. No, it was just bad. I thought it would be like fun to watch it now, like knowing what I know now. But
when I think of Laguna Beach, all I think about is Lauren showing Steven the house her parents were building on that cliff.
That's the first episode.
View and like sitting in the what's going to be the pool. And I'm like, fuck you.
Well, yeah. And then her dad's like, oh, we're dropping a palm into my backyard right now. But honestly, like it wasn't even that because that I've been watching entitled rich white people on reality TV for decades now.
Oh,
so
sure,
like that didn't do it for me. What it was like just being a parent now, I guess, looking back at this because they're at Trey's house and Trey's throwing these fucking ragers. And I'm like, whose parents would let you come into their kitchen like that and just make a huge mess? Because you know they're not cleaning it up. Well, and so I only watched 2 episodes, so this all happened then. Steven runs over a bottle of cologne in Trey's driveway, and they just leave it. Like I would be
they're stupid idiots.
Right? But the fact
you
that
were like, you better make that up, young man. Now in your 35-year-old.
No, I want a deep dive on Trey's parents because the fact that like they're okay with that happening and like they're still letting these kids come back to their house. I'd be like, that motherfucker Steven shattered glass into a million pieces on my driveway. And no, he can't come back here. And they're like, yeah, come have a barbecue.
Well, this just means you're not a cool mom.
That's fine. You know how people say, I want to be the house where all the kids hang out. I don't want to be that house. Do not be at my house. That's fine.
I want everybody out of my house.
Yeah, no, don't be in my house. I don't want that.
Oh my God.
Maybe like one or two of you, but not your entire senior class.
Of course.
Not your entire senior class. Thank you.
Oh, what about you? How is give us an update.
Well, things are going to be looking a little bit differently for me and my family over here. I am going back to work full-time temporarily. So I have taken a long-term sub position. The teacher I'm taking over for is going out on maternity leave. And it was one of those things, it just felt like everything aligned perfectly. And so if you remember back a couple episodes ago, I talked about how we gave our dog Murphy, that we essentially ended up fostering. We gave him back to the rescue. And the next day, I learned about a new childcare opportunity, after school childcare that we'll have, because where in our neighborhood where we are, there's very, very limited childcare options, and the ones that are there are extremely expensive. So this came up, and then the next day I learned about this long-term sub position, and I kind of just thought, I feel like all of these dominoes fell perfectly to take this position. And so it will run just about through the end of the school year, and I feel like it will be a good chance to, because the question is always in the back of my mind, and people are always asking me, do you think you'll ever go back to teaching? And I've always said no, simply for the fact that like I just could not wrap my head around how women are teachers and mothers, because essentially you're mothering all day and then coming home to, like, you're essentially mothering kids that you can't scream at all day, and then coming home to kids that you can scream at. So it only, like, my only scenario in my head that I could play out was like I would just be so overwhelmed and stressed that I would just come home and just like be a terrible mother to my own children. But I feel like I've subbed enough over this past year to kind of get a taste of it, and I do realize I do miss being in a school and working, you know, like other adults and that I see every day, and being a part of a school community. And so I think this will be a good test to see if I want to return to that school community as a teacher, or do maybe I just want to stay on as like a parent. No, as like a parent volunteer. So I feel like this is a good way, a good low stakes way to try it on without like really overcommitting. And I've also, being on a different school campus, I'm really seeing the difference. I feel like this is a whole other deep dive episode, but just to give a quick backstory, when I was teaching full time, I was in a very underserved neighborhood, Title I school. The population was pretty much like 50% Hispanic, 50% Asian, and like very over 50% second language learner, to like give you an idea of the population we're working with. And because of that, the teachers are operating the ditch. How do I explain this? So when you're working with a population like that, because it is not performing on the standardized testing the way that it, quote, should be, those districts are often under more scrutiny by the state and have a much stricter guidelines that they have to hit. So every minute that I was teaching had to be accounted for. I had to be able to, like, at the drop of a hat, if somebody came in, be able to link it to a standard and explain why I was doing that. So there really wasn't, especially for like a brand new teacher who didn't know up from down, there was no time to, like, you know, worry about social emotional learning, or to, like, honestly, like, technically I wasn't allowed to do science or art or history because we are, as a district, was so underperforming in language arts and math that those were like core subjects, obviously, that the entire day had to be focused on getting everybody to grade level on those two things. So to do science or history, we had to say like, oh, we're working on sentence structure while we're doing this. Or so anyways, all that to say, now being in a much different district, obviously much higher socioeconomic status and all those things, it's like, oh, it's not that stressful, and it's not like someone, and of course this all comes down to like site administration too and their management style and all of that, but it's like, oh, somebody's not breathing down my neck at all times. And like if they walked into my classroom right now and we weren't actually doing something that like linked directly very specifically to a standard, like nobody's gonna care. And it was just like, oh, like wait, it doesn't, I don't have to be operating at 110% at all times. So I feel like knowing that, knowing what I know now as a parent, and knowing what I know now about myself and like how to take care of myself and things like that outside of work, I feel like I feel like everything is there to see if like this is the best condition possible to see if this is what I want to do, basically. So
awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So we'll see. It'll be a change.
A great experiment.
That it will.
All right. We will be back with our New Year episode after this quick break.
If you're feeling the new year, new you vibe, and your goal is to get organized once and for all, then you need an essential calendar.
We've both been using an essential calendar for the past few years, and their unique design allows you to see 3 months at a glance. This makes planning so much easier and guarantees that you make time for all the things you want to do, not just things you have to do.
And new to the shop this year is the Year at a Glance calendar. If you like to see your whole year mapped out, this sleek, minimalist design is perfect for you.
You can get 10% off your order from the Essential Calendar by going to okayestmoms.com/essential. That's okayestmoms.com/essential.
We'd like to introduce podcast sponsor Dry Farm Wines. Dry Farm Wines is a wine club that sources natural wines from small family farms that grow organic grapes. Each wine is dry farmed, meaning no irrigation, low alcohol, below 12.5% ABV, sugar-free, lower in sulfites, free of toxic additives, and is keto, paleo friendly, and vegan.
Which is a fancy way of saying that you can enjoy the crisp, refreshing taste of a Sauvignon Blanc or the warm, fruit-forward taste of an Old Vine Zin without the icky feeling the next morning.
If you know what we mean. Dry Farm Wines offer memberships for reds, whites, or a mix of both that can be edited or canceled at any time.
To order Dry Farm Wines, go to dryfarmwines.com/okayestmoms to order. And if you sign up for a membership through our link, you'll get an extra bottle of wine for a penny with your first order. That's dryfarmwines.com/okayestmoms.
All right. So this episode is going to be a little bit of talking about the state of the podcast, I guess, some goals for the podcast, and a little bit of our personal goals too, which, like I said, I'm not excited to have specific goals for this year. I don't know. It feels too optimistic.
Listen, when you hear how low stakes my goals are, you're like, oh, I could have done that.
All right, well, let's talk first about the results of the survey. So at the end of last year, we asked our listeners and our followers on social media to fill out a survey. And a couple things stood out that we thought would be fun to share with all of you. So one thing that stood out to me is that almost all of you said that you have not left a rating or a review, which I get because podcasts are an auditory thing. You're usually like away from your phone when you're doing it. You're folding laundry, you're on a walk, you're whatever, you're driving, whatever you're doing. So I get the disconnect of, oh, I'm listening to this and they're reminding me to leave a rating or review, but I can't get to that right now. But I feel like and I hate talking about this because it feels so self-promotional, which, I mean, this is nothing but self-promotion, let's be honest, this whole endeavor. But it really does make a really big difference for us.
Yeah, totally. I mean, listen, we basically made up a job for ourselves. And in order to make money from this job, to make it sustainable and not just a hobby, like we need to grow. And one way to do that is to leave a rating or review. Another way to do that is to send a specific episode that you love to a friend who you think would love it too, because then it will pop up in their recommended episode section. And I hate talking about this too, but literally, if we don't do it, no one else will. And then we won't grow. And then the podcast will die. And we don't want that.
Yeah, a lot of people did say that they had shared it, which is almost as good as a review or a rating, but they both help equally. So if you haven't, we would absolutely love it if you could do that for us. And I know depending on which player you're in, you may not be able to leave a review, or you may only be able to leave a rating and not a review or whatever. But whichever way it works on the player you're listening to, we would so appreciate it.
I was surprised that your favorite topic was feeding the family.
It's not a surprise to me at all, because that is the bane of my existence.
Same. And that totally makes sense when you put it like that. But mostly I just feel like what we do is not special at all. But
I think that's the appeal of it, is that everyone's eating something at the end of the day, and it doesn't look like it came from allrecipes.com, and that's fine. You know what's really funny to me is whenever AJ is home for an extended period of time, he just like stands at the sink and just like waxes poetic. But all I do when I'm here is dishes. And it's like, yeah, bitch, what do you think I've been saying?
Listen, Heather, he did dishes on New Year's at my house. That's all I heard. This is all I do. I do dishes. I'm the dish bitch. This is what I do. And I'm like, okay, keep going.
And I get it, because as soon as you clean the kitchen, you turn around and then somebody wants a snack again.
Right.
But I feel like the monotony of the chores like that is just, I think people just like that to be recognized.
Yeah, for sure. So buckle up. We got some things planned for you.
One thing that just broke my heart is that you asked for less pop culture, which, fine. You know what?
We'll keep that on Instagram, fine. Then you can that past if you don't like it.
I can't promise, but I will try.
As we just talked about Jersey Shore in the long intro.
You know what? You're gonna get it. That's my life. So deal. One thing you did want more of, though, was product recommendations, which I don't generally see ourselves as the product recommendation people, mostly just because there are so many accounts and people that do it so much better than we do it. But I also do see, because I recognize this in myself, that you like to see, sometimes it's nice to just see the thing that works in a house that looks like yours in a unaesthetic, unglitzy kind of way. And I guess maybe that's what we provide.
Yeah. My prior to hearing this statistic that we got from our survey, it's hard to talk about products on an audio podcast. But like Megan and Wendy, who are our friends, long story short with Megan and Wendy, they do it all the time. Like every episode at the end, they have like a product that's their approved product, which they do a great job of doing. So maybe I just need to work on my adjectives or
honestly, I think that's easier. I think it's easier to do it on the podcast than on Instagram, especially because they've changed.
Show it, you know?
Right. We have to like do the whole like Vanna White part of it. And then also, since Instagram has changed, so it went from like 4 15-second clips to like one giant, I don't even know, I think it's a minute. But my timing is all the way off, and I know I
I
can
like it
stop.
so much better.
No, I like it, but like I find myself trying to like get everything out in like 15 seconds, and then I like look down and I'm like, oh, I still have all this time, and then I like internally like freeze, and it's just so I I like that I'm not limited here.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. The other thing is you guys love the mix of guest and host only episodes. So that is something we will continue doing in 2023.
And then this question, because so often we feel like all we're doing is bitching about the topic that we're discussing. And so I was really interested to see if that's because sometimes that's fun for me, depending on my mood and like where I'm at. It can be rewarding to listen to somebody else talking about that thing and mirroring my feelings because like, oh yeah, thank you, right? That the dishes do suck, right? And so but then other times it can feel like, going back to my dishes example, it can feel like, yes, of course the dishes suck. I know they suck because I do them all the time. So just do it and shut up. And so I wanted to see if people wanted to just commiserate with us or to have actionable steps of this is the thing that sucks, do X, Y, and Z to make it better. And which I feel like we try to provide, but complaining just comes by me so naturally that I think it's hard. I think we spend more time on the complaining side than the actionable step side. And most of you said you wanted a mix of both.
You know, the motto for this podcast is normalizing imperfect motherhood. So that's what we're doing. Right?
Right. One, I think so often, what I have always tried to avoid is the overwhelming toxic positivity of motherhood, which is so pervasive, where it's like, yeah, these kids won't go to sleep. And you know what? I'm just so lucky to have them. And I'm sure there are plenty of mothers who feel that way. I understand the IVF struggles and struggling to conceive and all of those things. But I think it's very okay to say, you know what? Mostly this sucks. And yes, I love these children, but also I need to sleep.
Well, and it's like that female patriarchal thing where we try to add a disclaimer on the end just to show that we're still smiling or we're still
Right.
have a good attitude or we're still pleasant. Like sometimes we're just allowed to be mad.
Right. And sometimes adding actionable steps on it feels like that like punctuation of like, but everything's great. And
Yeah, for sure.
sometimes the answer is that just like everything sucks and we're working through it. All right, so let's move into some of our goals for the podcast this year. This feels like a very like breaking the fourth wall kind of an episode.
Yeah, it totally does. I'm just proud of us. We had a planning session and we're like planned out through Q1 plus. And just we have a plan. Like it's gonna, like you said, it's gonna look a little different as far as it won't look different for the listeners, but it'll look different for us and how we record with Heather working full time. But I think it's doable as long as it's doable for you.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's part of my hesitation to like make any goals is that I don't really, this is uncharted territory. I mean, I've obviously been a teacher before, but I've never done it with having so many other responsibilities at the same time. And so it's just one of those things like I don't know until I know. And so I mean, like where I'm sitting right now, it all seems doable, but we'll see
Right.
what
Yeah.
happens.
Seems doable for me.
Yeah, no, I think we've worked really hard, especially over the last year or so, to kind of automate a lot of things and make it so that it isn't, oh shit, it's Sunday night and we need an episode for Tuesday. What are we gonna do? So I think we've really set ourselves up well in that regard.
Yep, for sure.
Obviously, one goal is always to keep growing. And I think, and we have grown over the last year. Each year, it's been year over year has been shown growth. And I think it's frustrating to not. I mean, this is where my goals drop off because I'm always hesitant to put like a number or to like quantify the goal somehow because I get very frustrated if that doesn't happen. And so while it sounds superfluous to just say to grow the podcast, it's more of like a defense mechanism for myself.
No, but it's true. Like I would like to see, we've seen year over year where we've doubled our growth. I'd like to see that again this year.
Well, and I think part of my hesitancy to quantify it too is that a lot of people don't realize this, but it's very hard to determine the number of listeners we have on because so like for example, to compare it to Instagram, they took away the likes and things like that, but like you can still look at insights and see and analytics and see how many accounts you're reaching or how many people have saved a post or like there are ways to see like how many impressions and engagements you're getting. With a podcast episode, it truly feels like just talking into the void and nobody ever hears it. Like it like is still traveling to the outer ends of space and like hasn't bounced back on anything yet. And
yes, because podcast analytics are very minimal.
Yes. And our best metric is downloads, which we can get, but that doesn't really, it's very, very archaic, it feels like.
Right. So like when we get a spike, we can't tell where it comes from. Like
right. So there's no way to replicate anything you're doing because it's just like, oh, we got a bunch of downloads today. Like, cool. Did somebody share the episode? Right. Where can we like go support that? Yeah. So it's just like, oh, like it's just like I feel like I'm in like some ancient civilization and like we just got like some like gift from a deity and it's like thank you. Like, oh like but there's no clear way to replicate that success or to even support or thank that success. And so
I disagree. I think the main key is just being consistent. And we've seen
for sure.
Like
isn't that just the thing overall? I mean, it's like it's like if you like change your diet and start walking more and lifting weights and drinking more water and taking your vitamins. It's like, okay, yes, all of those things are going to like support the overall goal, but like did one have more of an impact than the other? So,
totally. Yeah, no. So, all that to say, thank you for being here. We love you very much. Please keep listening.
Another goal, which I feel like we could probably talk about, is to be presenters at a conference talking about podcasting, which hopefully we will hear about soon, which would be a big step for us. I feel like it would be a big step to battling imposter syndrome because like you said, we did just make this up. But so we'll see.
Yeah, that would be exciting. So fingers crossed for us. I feel like the other goal for us is just to make this more of a full-time gig for both of us. We want to increase profitability, make it a little more comfortable and consistent for each of us because any creative job is truly like, oh, where's my money coming from this month? But
well, it's almost like a commission salary.
Yeah, for sure. So just getting a little more consistency there and hopefully making it more of a full-time job.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are planning, so in February will be our third anniversary. And we have an episode planned to kind of really break the fourth wall and talk a little bit more of like the nuts and bolts of the podcast. And we'll share more about that soon. But yes, that is always an overarching goal.
Gotta make that cheddar.
All right. Any other podcast goals, or would you like to move on to your personal goals?
That's all I got.
Okay. All right, personal.
Okay. So one of my tiny goals, these are okay, not disclaimer, these are not like get in shape, lose 20 pounds. Like these are very small, easy goals because that's what I need in my life right now. Just attainable and not daunting. So my first one is my photo folder on my phone
Oh
is
my
an
God, no.
absolute
Mm-mm, no,
dumpster
I
fire.
can't.
Wait, I'm making this attainable. Wait a second. Every day-ish, or if I have to do like a couple days at a time, if I miss them, like I did today, I just go in and search today's date. So like I went in today and searched 1/6, and then I had 40 photos in there from previous years and today, and just went through and like deleted old screenshots, deleted like, I don't know, old photos that were like duplicates because I take a million at a time. And then I'd cleaned it up for that day. And so if I do
Mm,
that every day, I feel like that's way more attainable than like slogging through the entire thing or like
okay.
doing
Okay.
folders or whatever.
Recently we hit our limit on our iCloud storage and I just about had a nervous breakdown. So
That's a lot.
it's so much. But also like all of the pictures, I'd say like 30% of the pictures are worth saving. And it's just, and so AJ and I shared the iTunes account or iCloud, and he has so many pictures from work that like just need to be deleted. And so it's not entirely me.
Mm,
But
that's
have
hard.
you noticed lately that with one of the most recent iOS updates, if somebody sends you a picture, they're automatically putting it in your camera roll?
No,
I don't, why do I want this
you
here?
can turn that off.
There must be a way. I have this theory that they knew I was getting close to my limit, so they're like, "Oh, let's just keep putting." So then they'll buy more.
Did you do that? Did you buy more?
No, I refused because we already pay way more than I like. But
Oh my god. Yeah. No, I that's much more attainable to me than doing the whole
okay,
thing once.
okay.
Um, my other one is to actually send birthday cards to all my nieces and nephews that live out of state because
Hmm.
literally all
There's
of
a
them.
million of them now.
Yeah, there's 7,
Oh my god, that's so
and
many.
I miss their birthdays every year. But I mean, I'll do good at the beginning and then I'll fall off, and then like siblings will get something and the other siblings won't. I feel like an asshole. So that's my goal. I have like reminders set in my phone, like send it this day. And I'm talking like send something like a card with money in it. That's my threshold.
Okay.
Not gonna pick out like an individual gift for each of them.
No, God no. Did you go? So did you go and buy a stack of cards?
I did. So I bought a stack of
Awesome.
cards like ready to go. If I get ambitious, I plan to like fill them out ahead of time, and just have them ready to go when I need to send them.
Where are you going to keep them so that you don't lose them or like
I have
forget?
so in my desk drawer is like all my cards because sometimes they stock up, and then I have like thank you cards in there and just like plain stationary cards if I need them.
Mm.
So I'll put them in
I
there.
know people who have like clipped them to the month in their
Oh,
planner.
that's smart, but I don't really have a real planner.
Mm.
Can't do dated things anymore, I've realized. So,
Hmm. All right. What else?
um, I'm going to schedule a game night once a month with my family. We had this idea last year and we said it would be once a week. And you know how that
That's too much.
that did not did not work. So once a month, Garner family
Was
game
this
night.
your idea or was this Tyler's idea?
It was kind of mine because last year for Christmas I got them all. It's like an orange, like nice notebook, and it says Garner Family Game Night on it to like keep track of like when we do games that we have to keep track of the score or something. So
Mm.
just keep them all in there, kind of like as a memory.
Okay. Pause. When you keep score on a game, do you go vertically or do you go horizontally?
Oh, vertically.
Right. There's no other answer to that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
AJ does it horizontally.
No. You run out of room.
Also, what kind of Sociopath does addition horizontally. Who does that?
Also that.
I can't.
Oh my God. So yeah. And so I got that for them last year and we used it twice. So once a month.
Oh my God. That is so Tyler's personality too, to like commemorate all of the times he won a game.
Right. It was a great gift, right?
It's like, why didn't you put that on the gift list?
I forgot about it until I was cleaning out that closet.
Did you find it next to the cards?
In my last one is to learn how to use hair rollers in my hair. I've watched so many YouTube videos and I still suck at it.
Like a Velcro roller or like a hot roller?
Not hot roller, but like when your hair is like almost dry and you put it in and you like do all the stuff. And I just want like
so easy.
Oh my God, why can't I do it?
I don't know.
I literally take them out and it just like.
I think the problem is that, are you starting with damp hair?
Like slightly damp.
No, just dry that shit all the way. And then.
Really?
Okay, so here's what I do. Also, my hair is very heavy though, so, and I don't put any like root plumper, like, you know, like the lift stuff
plumper.
In there.
Yeah, that's what it's called. Plumper.
Root plumper, yeah. I don't put any product in to like hold the volume, but so it falls flat very quickly. But I dry my hair all the way and then I take my straightener and I straighten the section and then I roll it and then let it set.
I do that, it will stay straight.
What?
Yeah, like if I straighten it, it's straight forever.
I'm not saying like, repeatedly like go like literally like run the straightener to get the heat on the hair and then roll it real quick.
Okay.
Like
I'll
quick swipe.
Your theory. I'll send you a picture.
Swipe. Okay.
I'll send you a picture of what happened.
You gotta do like the mohawk first. And then you do like the George Washington on the side.
Please do a reel about this. First the mohawk, then the George Washington.
I will. Well, and then I have like different size rollers too.
I think send me which ones you have. Because I think I just have crappy.
Oh, I've had them for 15 years.
That doesn't mean they're crappy though. I feel like I got them for like $1.
I do the big ones on the mohawk, like the crown to the. Is this all the crown of your head? Crown.
Oh yeah, crown, right? Yeah.
The crown to like the top of your head. I don't know. I have 3 big ones.
That's where Prince William has hair.
Yes, exactly. So I do the 3 big ones right there, and then I have like medium size for the George Washington look on the side.
How many do you use on the side?
I have 8, but I usually only end up doing like 4, so like 2 and 2 on the temples.
Oh, okay.
If I'm feeling real crazy, I'll do like another row of 4 under.
Okay. All right. Well,
But I also think that this is like do you remember those hair magazines where it's like people would buy a magazine? Oh my God, this feels so fucking
I remember
old.
looking at them at my hairstylist's office.
People would buy their magazines devoted strictly to just like different hairstyles. And I remember like as like a preteen, like wanting like a specific hairstyle. And my mom always saying, it's not going to look like that because you don't have highlights. And I was like, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And then of course it never looked like that because like people put the highlights in to like give it that look. And then we're talking like late 90s. So like the chunky layers and like.
So chunky.
Yeah. Which obviously were accentuated by the chunky highlights. But I feel like to have like the right look you're talking about with the rollers, you have to have the right kind of layers cut into your hair. Otherwise it's just gonna look dumb.
Yeah, I don't have layers. Maybe that is the problem.
I think that's a lot of the problem because if your hair's not cut to do that, then it's not.
Also, that's a big commitment to get layers to be able to do that, and then I won't let layers.
Wait, are you telling me your hair is all one length like you're in 7th grade?
Except here, otherwise it looks too thin.
No, layers make your
hair. Also, you're looking at my hair now. It's like so greasy. I'm doing something tomorrow, so I'm waiting to wash it tomorrow morning.
Layers make your hair look thicker.
Not mine. I do have my bangs that are very grown out, but that's it.
All right. Well, I have a haircut coming up in like 3 days, and now I know what I'll be talking to her about.
She's the one who told me that.
We're going to be talking about your hair. No, layers do not make your hair thinner.
They make it feel thinner. They may make it look thick if you do it right, but otherwise mine just sticks straight and doesn't look good.
Oh, well, I'm not concerned about how it feels. I'm concerned about how it looks.
I lost so much. COVID made me lose so much hair, man.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. Well, this was a long conversation about hair.
All right. My goal, it's not, I don't really have like, I feel like this year I'm doing like the practicum of my years-long master's program. Like, I feel like since having kids, I've been on this like, I hate to say journey, but of like reprogramming my brain to not be such a spaz. And I feel like that's part of the reason why I stopped teaching in the first place, is because I had all this stress that I didn't know how to handle. And then, surprise, surprise, that stress came back when I had kids because I still didn't know how to handle it. And so I feel like it's just been constantly rewiring my brain of like, yes, all these things need to get done, and like it's fine if they don't, and like you know, like all of that undoing of the type A, this is what you should be kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to work full time is going to put all of that to the test. I feel like it's going to be it's going to reset expectations for everyone in our house. And I don't know that, I think that's going to cause some friction. And so I think like that will be like another test of like, how do we handle that in our marriage? Because now like dinner might not be ready for you when you walk in the door. And like, guess what? You might have to do some dinner prep and the dishes that you want to bitch about all night. So like, I think it's going to ask a lot more of everyone else to do things, because I'm not going to be everyone's executive assistant anymore. And I think it will be a good test for boundaries for me as well, because teaching is a job that can consume your entire life if you let it. And I let it the first time, and I simply just do not have that luxury anymore. Not that it's a luxury, because it's not, but I don't have that ability to just pour all of my energy into the classroom. And so I think that will be a good test. I think it's going to be like, it's just going to be like my ultimate test of like, how much can I let go? And
it's your test of boundaries.
Yeah. And now that my kids are older and have more activities after school, like I'm simply just not going to be able to be there until it's dark outside. And that's okay. And I think for a long time, like that was my measure of doing well at my job, but it's not at all. And so it'll just, I don't know. I'm excited to see if I can handle it. But I feel like when it does hit the fan, because it will at some point, I'm sure, I think I have all these other tools that I now can use and can actually like explain my emotions and how I'm feeling. Because before, it's funny how like when you grow up in a house where like nobody ever asks you what's wrong with you, like you can't explain what's wrong with you. So
yeah, you just know how you feel, but you can't put words to it. I feel that.
So I feel like I'm like giving my doctoral presentation this year of like, these are all the things I've learned, and like this is how I've implemented it in my life.
Here's my thesis.
Yeah, exactly. So
well, I'm excited for you. And I think you're gonna do great.
I'm excited. I think my family needs a change. I think everyone's gotten really dependent on me, and I'm tired of being the one to know all the things. And so screw you guys, do it yourself.
It's gonna be good for everybody to get a new routine.
Yeah. For sure. So that's kind of my only goal, is to keep my head above water, I guess.
Love it. That knocks all my goals out of the water.
I mean, since I already know how to use hair rollers, I'm good.
I mean, it's really like, how did I make it this long without learning that?
Also, though, like, I think you can just get like a Dyson Airwrap and call it a day.
I keep
That scares me.
It's a lot and it's expensive. And I have a history of using something for like 2 times and then not using it again. And if I do it with that, I might get a divorce.
Do you remember that thing that would like, it was like an automatic braider?
Yes.
And it was just basically like a recipe for a huge snarl in your hair.
Yes.
Watching that hair get sucked into that, that's all I can see. And I'm like, how you're gonna have a bald spot because you're gonna have to cut that out of your hair.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, see, I know some people love it, but some people hate it. So
Also, when I was younger, my cousin got a round brush stuck in her hair, like right in the front. And
no.
she had a bald spot for like 3 years, and she had to have like a different haircut to cover her bald spot. So I can't watch the shark and the Dyson Airwrap thing. I can't, like, every time I'm like, how your hair's not coming out of that? It's not going to recover.
Oh, that gives me anxiety.
Yeah. So stick with the Velcro rollers.
Let's talk about hair. I wonder if Elise listens.
All right. So if you haven't already, please go rate and review, subscribe, share with a friend. We would love it so much. And we will be back next week.
Bye.
If you like what you just heard, and we hope you do, you can find more of us online at www.okayestmoms.com. We're also on all social media platforms, Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Okayest Moms Blog. Or if you want to, you can send us an email at hey@okayestmoms.com.